They're live.
Good evening, Nigerians and lovers of Nigeria, wherever you are. We are back this evening, a new working day for this wonderful working week. I decided to call it a wonderful working week because despite what the APC and their governance and the judiciary that they have captured may be doing in Nigeria, we know that we are more than a conqueror. We are coming for a win and Nigeria will be rescued from them. Nigeria is bigger than them, and the destiny of Nigeria is bigger than the ambition of any one person. This night, we are going to be touching on a topic that borders on the double standard of our judiciary in this current dispensation, just within the last 1 month or thereabouts, the kind of somersault we are witnessing. Why do I say that within the last 1 month? We do know that the Presidential Elections Petitions Court, which was the appeal court, that they delivered their judgment in September. And then there was an appeal by Labour Party and PDP and to the Supreme Court. And the Supreme Court, you know how snappy they acted and all the drama that happened before the judgment was delivered. Now, it is understandable and it is always something that happens all over the world, what is called the judicial precedent, whereby a court of a coordinate jurisdiction, meaning courts that are at the same level, respect the judgment that is delivered by another court at the same level. That is, if there is a substituting judgment by a high court, almost all the high courts will quote that and use it as their own precedent going forward, except an appellate court, maybe like appeal court, nullifies that judgment, and then the judgment of the appellate court now becomes superior to that one of the lower court. And it continues in that order up till the Supreme Court. And that is why the judgment of the Supreme Court is always more like a law, because no matter what happens at the lower court, eventually what the Supreme Court says will stand to overrule the other one. And no other court has the right to make any other pronouncement that will deviate from the judgment that has been made by the Supreme Court. Now, let's bring it into the Nigerian context, and especially as it has to do with the election petitions and all the litigations. We do know that this elections was in this current election year, and we do know that the Electoral Act is supposed to be the legal document that even the judges themselves respect, because it was signed into law by the president and is supposed to be the guiding framework towards the election. We know about all these things. And so what is it that I'm trying to establish this moment? What I'm trying to establish is this. This court of the first instance in the presidential election, being the appeal court, they had some landmark decisions they made in the case of the presidential elections. And this landmark declarations was later on upheld by the Supreme Court, meaning that the Supreme Court concurrently adopted what the appeal court had said. It is now expected that even though it is painful to us and we didn't buy this particular direction, that every other court should respect what the Supreme Court has said. But no, not in the case of Nigeria and not in the case of elections, petitions, and litigations, because just within these few days, whereby the Supreme Court upheld what the appeal court said, there had been a complete and a total somersault. It looks like there is one set of rules for the presidential election and another set of rules for the governorship. And when we look at it closely, it means that there is one set of rules for those that APC wants to be in power, whether it is at the presidency or at the governorship or the National and State Assembly, and another set of rules for those whom they do not want to be there. Meaning, Whether you are declared as governor and you're already sitting, if you are not APC, get ready because you'll be removed. And if you have been declared as a governor and you're sitting and you are APC or someone who will tag along with them, then if you are the person who are going to challenge them, forget it, you're wasting your time because you will never win your case. And we are going to be citing the fact that it is this same appeal court that was the court of first instance in the matter of the presidential election that has changed now, especially the issue of the pre-election matter, where we were talking the lawyers of the PDP and the lawyers of the Labour Party were highlighting a whole lot of things that disqualify the sitting president. Why in the first place he shouldn't even be in the election? Something that has to do with forgery, something that has to do with qualification, something that has to do with nomination, and all those things. And the appeal court trashed them and say all these things are pre-election matter. And as long as this particular litigation is a post-election matter, that both PDP and Labour Party does not have locus standi. They trash them, they bin them. Okay, they did it because they know that if they didn't do it, the man they wanted to be the president will not be sitting as the president now. And what did they do again? They went to Kano State. And what did they do? Amongst other reasons why they decided this same appeal court, which is the same level, amongst other things they have decided, they said that a whole lot of pre-election matters was a burden on the shoulder of the sitting governor in Kano State, and that he should be removed. That is now deciding that pre-election matter is important because the governor of Kano State must be removed. The same thing in Plateau State. Coming down to Enugu State, they trashed the pre-election matters because it has to be who they want. And need I say something that the lead lawyer, the lead counsel for APC in the matter of the presidential is also the lead counsel for the PDP in the matter of Enugu State governorship. So it's more like what they said. This same lead lawyer will lay on land SAN. It's like it is him that is writing the law for judges in Nigeria. If you hire him, forget it. Forget it, you're going to get it, whether he appears in court or not. And that tells us, as we are going to listen to this particular audio by this legal expert, Chidi Odinkalo, that there is indeed, we have mercenaries in our judiciary. And I will give us space to listen to it. We're just going to be brief this night. I appreciate it. I hope you enjoy it.
Need to be interested in this stuff. And you see, the problem always was the tendency to reduce this to a party political issue, which it wasn't. Look, this matter didn't start today. When the judgment in Amechi's case came down in December 2007, I mean, the Supreme Court gave its reasons in January 2008, but the judgment came down in December 2007, saying that someone who was never on the ballot had been elected governor of Rivers State. PDP was exultant. But that judgment is actually why we are where we are today. It was the beginning, close to the beginning of our problems. Because, yes, there needed to be a remedy to the madness that was going on then. But whether that remedy had to be putting someone on the seat who had never been on the ballot to begin with was a different matter. The Supreme Court could easily have decided in that case, okay, we will nullify the elections. We will recognize Amechi as the candidate of the PDP, but we will send this back to the people to decide. Was that not possible? Of course it was. But they chose not to do that. And therefore expropriated to judges a decision that only citizens should make in a democracy, deciding who rules them and deciding on whom to confer the mandate. And what did the Supreme Court say in that case? Candidates don't make a difference. Parties do. Candidates don't run in Nigerian elections. Parties do, which really was untrue. And I know for a fact that a lot of judges at very senior levels then had nothing to do with politics, but a lot of judges were very unsettled by that judgment. But it came from the Supreme Court, and therefore they had to comply with it. That set us off on the route to where we are today. Now, by the time you had done with the corrections of PDP overreach when it was in power, what you then were left with was judges had grabbed the rights of the citizens and decided it was too sweet to let go, because candidates were discovering that you didn't need to know anybody. You didn't. Senator Ibeke in Anambra North went to the National Assembly 3 times. He never won any election. Alphonse Ibeke was never interested in winning an election. What he did was, after the elections, he would go and buy judges, quite literally. 3 times Ibeke went to the National Assembly over 12 years without a vote in his favor. Anyone who is from Anambra State here knows Alphonse Ibeke's story. But he's not the only person. Why? Because judges now decide our elections. And so once politicians realized this, they started planting their wives and their daughters and their mistresses. I mean, I could go on here about whose mistress is which in which place. And obviously the wives we know. But it is the mistresses that are very interesting. And who is sleeping with whom, as genitally transporting people whom they are related with into the judicial system. Because you need your own judges there to have these decisions take place. And then we get to 2019, right? We're in Zamfara State. So, because this is not, I want to make it clear, this is not APC. I'm not interested in APC, PDP, Yabo. It is that the ground rules have been totally altered. And that means you cannot take away, you cannot beat an incumbent because they will outmoney you. When the Supreme Court decided that you could have the idea of wasted votes, guys, and you see, people sit down and we laugh over these things. How can you waste the votes of citizens in a democracy? That is the biggest problem we have now, that judges are wasting the votes of citizens. In Zamfara State, Matawale lost every local government area in Zamfara State. He didn't win half. And judges actually sat down and thought it was a very nice idea that because of a pre-election matter, you could waste the votes of an entire state. That was another evolution in this process. And so the doctrine of wasted votes came in, and now judges are wasting the votes of people. Kano is a scandal. Kano is an absolute scandal. And you don't have to be a supporter of any party to recognize that Kano is a ridiculous scandal. It is. And now, look at the map of what is happening, guys, so that you understand. Every one of us needs to understand that the judiciary has become a national security threat. And I'm not going to mince words about it. The control is Imo State. Imo State, look at how Imo State descended from January 2020 to where we are now. So that, choose what you choose to believe about last week's elections. In most of Imo West, Olu senatorial zone, in most of the local governments, there were no elections. INEC knows for a fact that it could not safely deploy election workers to most of the local governments in Imo State. Certainly not in Olu. not in much of Okigwe local government area. So voting mostly took place in and around Owerri. And then they wrote results for the remainder of the state. Why? Because judges did what they should not have done. Now, Plateau State, where they are writing up new results with judgments, has been in trouble for a long time, certainly since 2001. And if you followed it well, since 1994. Zamfara State is one of the most intense killing grounds in Nigeria. Kano State, nobody should mess around with. In 3 major theaters of security and security crisis in Nigeria, judges have decided to become thieves. And anyone who cares about the country should be worried. Military commanders who have soldiers fighting on these frontiers, on these theaters, should be worried. You know why? We've got 3 divisions equivalent, tied down in the Northeast. We've had that for 10 years. We've got 2 divisions equivalent, tied down in the Northwest. We've got the 3rd division of the Nigerian Army in Jos. 6 divisions out of 8, all held down by crisis in these states, in these territories. Zamfara in Northwest, Kano in Northwest, particularly, essentially at the frontier between Northwest and Northeast, because if you get to Wudil, turn left, you're going to the Northeast. Jos, Plateau in the North Central. And judges are messing with the future and the very existence of the country. And all of us are sitting down, and particularly the opposition politicians, thinking this is going to end well. This is ugly, guys. And I'm not even going to pretend about it. This is very ugly. It is very existential. And those who don't understand the ramifications should please wake up. Let me yield here.
I don't even know what to say. Can you hear me? I don't even know where to start. I am making my notes while he spoke, and I don't even know. The only thing I could say in summary is that anybody who have listened to me on this space will know that to a large extent, I am also not too keen about whether it is Labour Party or not. You notice that I have built the history of how the judiciary has been the problem of our democracy. I predate even to before I was born, because I am a history student, I am a researcher. If I can't dig up information, I am not worth my qualification. I have done something here dating back to 1963 and later brought it forward to from 1979. And then I particularly challenged judiciary to quote me wrong when we did a program here, and I chronicled how judiciary happens to have been instrumental to setting us back, to derailing our democracy right from 1983 till date. And that is aside from the fact that Justice Datijo Muhammad, who just retired from the Supreme Court, said he's been in the sector for 47 years, which is something that is challenging even our existence, both of us who are on this platform now, presenting this program, challenging our birth, challenging our existence, because the man was trying to propose that he has been there before we were born. And I said that whereas we've had more than about 15 presidents come and go, some repeated themselves from that 1976 till date, others were military presidents, Others were military heads of state. Others were elected Democrat, quote and unquote, civilians within 1976 till date. That is, I don't know if Justice Datijo was in the Supreme Court when Murtala Mohammed was in power, or when he was removed and Gowon came to power. Because you know that Murtala Mohammed was assassinated in 1976 and Gowon took over. And Gowon handed over to Gowon took over. Murtala Mohammed took over when Gowon was ousted out of power. He was in Uganda. He was in the OAU meeting when he was ousted out of power. And then Murtala Mohammed took over and was assassinated. And after the assassination, Obasanjo took over. I mean, if you keep counting it, the judiciary had remained, but the presidents keep changing, which is the executive keep changing from military to civilian, civilian to military, military to just like that. And every once in a while, they will get the National Assembly, which is the legislature, that will come and will be thrown away when the military takes over. But in all these ups and downs, the judiciary has been there, and they have been instrumental. It was the instrument. It was the commitment, the negative commitment of the judiciary that resulted even in the first coup in 1966, when we had about the wild west in the southwestern part of Nigeria. It was this same military. I'm sorry, it was this same judiciary. But coming to the one that is closer to when we had started existing was this same judiciary in 1979 that interpreted the two-third issue again, which made those who gave us the 1999 Constitution to say, look, and the FCT, the judiciary have been there. And if we listen to what this gentleman is saying here, he says that candidates no longer need to win to even be in the ballots in Nigeria. Just like Amechi, just like Ibeke Alphonsus that he said, who had gone to the National Assembly 3 times without even being on the ballot. Why? Because he knows how to, I'm quoting him, he knows how to buy judges. So it may not actually be APC or PDP thing. It's actually the money thing, because he says here, if I quote him, he says the reason why they don't bother is that the politicians have now come to understand that you cannot beat the incumbent because they will outmoney you. Now, if we look at it this way, it means because the incumbent will have the money of the states at their disposal, they will just channel the whole money of the state to the judges and say, look, keep me here. And maybe the gullible ones in a place like Kano or in a place like Plateau State will think, I am in power and I know that I won this election hands down. I don't need to bribe judges. Oh, there was a video we saw circulating some time ago where someone was saying that when they get to the Supreme Court, they will tell them who they know. So it's about who you know, not about the facts you have. And they go around in Plateau State then boasting that they will win this election. They will be declared winner by the court. And this gentleman again has gone deeper to say it again, that the politicians started planting their wives, planting their daughters, planting their sons, and the mistresses. And he stressed it and said, when they plant their son, you will know because it will be there. When they plant their relations, you will know. But the one that annoys him is their mistresses. Meaning there are people today who are going to sit over judgment in Nigeria, not just in election matter, who are immoral, so to say, that their immoral relationship resulted in them becoming justices. And we will call them your lordship, Your Lordship. Do you hear that, my fellow Nigerians? That's what we will call them. But if we go for the facet of the decadence in our judiciary is something we can't write home about. Because GD Odinkalo here is trying to say that we know them when they put their daughters, their wives, their sons. Oh, you have not listened. Need I remind Professor Odinkalo that he has not listened to Olisa Awakoba, the former Nigerian Bar Association president, who rightly said that even their so-called relations are changing their names. So they are committing a crime in order to become. So there are some judges we know today based on the former president of NBA's confession that are bearing a name that cannot even be traced, which is what we call it, age name falsification or what? I don't know what it's called in law again. And now, I think over the weekend, we also listened to just a former president of the Nigerian Bar Association who said that he had been privileged to sit down where these judges were being interviewed, and that the only way our system, the only way justice can prevail in Nigeria is by luck, is by chance. That what the politician is doing is pure judicial capture. Where can we go? He said that Kano is a scandal. Professor Odinkalo here said that the judiciary is now constituting national security threat to Nigeria. In the North Central Plateau, that we know how volatile things have been there, that is where the judiciary decided to go and mess with people's will. In the Northwest, Northwest, Zamfara State, where they are butchering people, kidnapping girls, maiming them and raping them and marrying them off to bandits. This same Zamfara State, where the so-called Matawale he quoted here, who did not win any election, but the judiciary made him a governor. In that same place, judiciary is messing with that place. This is the same governor that the current governor they want to remove have been speaking that he used government money to buy SUVs for bandits. Then in Kano State, who had largely been peaceful in terms of banditry, terrorism, and what have you, they want to erupt domestic terror there by also going there to mess. Then we come down to Southeast. Imo State is a theater. It's a killing ground. And there was no election there, according to him. And judiciary, of course, have been messing with that particular state since January 2020. And this is what they want to continue. As we talk like this, there is a pending judgment of the Supreme Court in Imo State, where the Supreme Court themselves said with their judgment, that there was that APC as a political party did not present a candidate in the 2019 election. But this same Supreme Court decided to adjourn indefinitely a hearing that will make them give enforcement to that judgment. And that person who should not be in government had served for 4 years and is planning to come back again to serve for another 4 years. And the judiciary is there. What do you look at the kind of trouble these people by their judgments are fomenting in Nigeria, because they are easily bought over. So Nigerians, you can see, we come back here, we keep repeating this thing. It's not as if there are plenty other things, trending that we could like. But it's nice that we keep telling us this so that you can always know that in this place, we have been saying it, we have been hammering it, we have been crying about it. And now, why did he say that Kano State judgment of the appeal court is a scandal? It's understandable. Number one, you say that more than 130,000 votes were recorded in favor of NNPP. And that the reason is because INEC did not sign, INEC did not do this, and INEC did not do that. The question is, how can 130 something thousand votes be credited to only one party when more than 5 political parties vied for that election? Not even one. So when you cancelled 130 something thousand votes for NNPP, how many did you cancel for SDP on that ballot? How many did you cancel for PDP? And how many did you cancel for APC? Nobody knew for today, till today. And then after that laughable judgment by the tribunal, people were expecting that the appeal court would live up to expectation. Yet, what did they do? They hit the gavel in endorsement. And much more than that, they also went on to say that the sitting governor was not well sponsored by the political party. That he was not well sponsored. Since when again? Just less than a month ago, the Supreme Court was endorsing the judgment of the appeal court, where they say that anybody who mentioned what happened in the other political party is an interloper. Is it not true? And that is it. And in 2007, in the case of Amechi, as we heard here, which is true, the Supreme Court said that it is the political party, that candidates do not vie for election, but political parties. It means political party can decide to put a stick, as long as the logo of the political party is in the ballot paper, it is the political party you're voting. Is that not what the Supreme Court said? Is that not why the former Senate president is back in the Senate now? Because the person who rightly won that particular senatorial primaries under APC went to court, and the Supreme Court told him point blank, even though you claim to have won this primary, you are not the party. It is who the party puts that will care. Get out of here, according to the comedians we have in Nigeria. So the guy got out of that place. That was why Rocha Sokorocha was asking the former Senate president, how did you do it? Because we were all together at the Eagle Square campaigning for the presidency when the primaries of the APC had closed for the Senate. How did you do it? And what was it that the former Senate president said? He said, it's not me, it's the court, it's the judge, it's the court. I mean, if you remember that video, he said, it's not me, which he said, I didn't even appeal. The court just gave me a good gift. They loved me as a Senate president and they want me to come back. The judiciary made me. How did you do it? It's not me, it's the judiciary. Isn't that ironic and funny? And then, in the case of the presidential election, the court was slapping PDP and APC front and back, saying, you are eavesdropping, you are interloping, you don't have locals. Do you understand? And then this same court had now come back to decide that a governor from 2 states will be removed based on something that happened before election, based on the sponsorship of the party. It's ridiculous. It's obvious that these people, they don't care. They really, really, really don't care. And God really needs to help us. I don't know if you have any other thing. If not, I think this is the case we want to make today. We just want to be snappy, okay? Go ahead.
Thank you for your thoughts. Honestly, Nigeria's judiciary now is seen as a national security threat. That statement alone, is so weighty. You can imagine the kind of mess we are into as a country. The president was in Germany. He attended the G20 meeting, and he was telling the people there that They are going to ensure that the rule of law, is taking the forefront in Nigeria. So, with all this kind of revelation coming from somebody like Chidi Odinkalo, you can imagine the extent of the rot in our system, in our judiciary, and what it would take to like purge the system. Now, considering the kind of people we have in leadership positions in Nigeria today, do you think they have the willpower, they have the political will to ensure that the judiciary is really independent as it's supposed to be? Look at the kind of the roads we are into. Honestly, Nigeria has a very big problem. Nigeria is really confronted with a very, very big problem, especially when it comes to the kind of judiciary we have today. They are the ones to decide who governs the state. They are the ones to decide who becomes the president. They are ones to, even if you won your election and it's clear to everybody that you won, the judges can just come up and just remove you, giving one excuse or the other, and tell you that you are not supposed to be there. You just cited that of Lawal. That of Lawal is like, is still, as in so many Nigerians are still like, could this really happen in Nigeria? Somebody that never had, well, he wasn't there during the primaries, only for him to be given that opportunity to come back as a senator in Nigeria, and he's still there. Nobody is contesting that. Anytime the Supreme Court gives a verdict, they want to force it on the masses that we must take it, we must swallow it, and we must accept it, whether we like it or not. Anyway, some people have said that for the fact that the Supreme Court gives a ruling and we just have to take it, does not mean that that ruling is the real justice that people are looking for. So I want to.
No, before
Okay,
you
want to say something?
go on, two things you said that I want to point out are this. You said enforcement, the people who will see to it that this particular behavior or character is purged. Who is benefiting from it? Is it the person that is benefiting from it that will purge it? The people who has the ability or the responsibility, yes, the responsibility to do it, are the people who are benefiting from the rot. Is it the presidency or the governor or the judiciary who could purge themselves? Majority of the things that have been said about the judiciary, remember we did it here as a program. The corruption in our judiciary is a top-down thing, it's not a bottom-up. Because if it is a bottom-up thing, those in the top will purge it. But it's a top-down thing that the younger ones are actually looking up to when they will get to that point, so they too will get corrupted.
You didn't even mention the senators, those in the House of NAS.
I'm coming. I mentioned the executive, and now I've gone to the judiciary. Or is it the lawmakers? Is it this Lawal who benefited from this rigged system?
Or is it Akpabio?
Or is it Akpabio? Two of them benefited from this rigged system. They did not put their, they were not at all. They did not feature in the primaries. But the party said, these are the people who want to go for us, even though they should have been in primaries. And the court says, yay, give it to the party. It's the party that is contesting, not an individual. Even though most of those individuals would decamp and the party will not, and that person will not be recalled. You remember that when the person decamps, it becomes a person, not a party. We just have such a confused system. Because if it was a party that was contesting, when a politician decamps, he should lose his seat because the party was what won the election. But our courts have made it impossible for the person to lose his seat. Yet the courts have said also that it is the party that contests. That is why Akpabio and Lawal are there. Is it this Akpabio that benefited from it? And who is the head of the legislature that will push for it? Or the former Senate president that will push for it? The answer is no.
Mm.
And then secondly, again, you're talking about the judgment. Yes, of course. Just like we're here. Nigerians, you know the options that are before us. You talk about rule of law, what the president was saying in Germany. Yes, the country is being ruled by rule of law. Because if it is not so, if Nigeria do not respect the law, the man who is speaking as a president wouldn't be talking.
Honestly.
But the thing is that it is the wrong rule of law that is leading us today. The corrupted rule of law, as it were. The dirtied rule of law. It is still the rule of law, but it's like more of a slave master who sets excruciating rule to the detriment of the peace and joy of those whom they are leading. It is unfortunate. Go ahead.
Yeah, Doc, let's just quickly go through the other videos we want to look at so that we call it a day. So there have been this outrage, by the public over the public procurement by the Lagos State government. Babajide Sanwo-Olu's government say they used 7 million to purchase air freshener and so many other things that they use, huge amounts of money to buy or they spend on. And people have been crying out that these people keep telling Nigerians to tighten up their belts, to be patient, but they themselves, they seem not to be patient. You can imagine the wife of the deputy governor collects 30 million that she shares maybe to her supporters and all that. And Babajide Sanwo-Olu himself used about 200 million naira to settle for his courts, whatever, the lawyers that helped him during this petition. We all know that the Labour Party and the PDP filed petition against him. So he used about 200 million from the state coffer to pay those lawyers. You can imagine the kind of things happening in our country. So I want us to quickly take a look at this video and we'll come back to discuss some of this.
Funsho Dorothy, the 2023 governorship candidate of the Action Democratic Congress in Lagos State, has criticized the governor of the state over public procurement awards in the second and third quarters of 2023, highlighting the number of contracts for further scrutiny. In a post on X, Dorothy wrote an open letter to Sanwo-Olu appealing for the judicious use of public funds, especially in the face of the current economic realities. Well, according to him, the approval of 2 billion naira for rechargeable fans, lights, and fridge for the office of the deputy governor, as well as 18.5 million naira awarded to the office of the chief of staff to the governor for the supply and distribution of 2,000 chickens across local government areas of the state, calls for further explanation. Other awards includes a new bulletproof vehicle worth 440 million naira for the office of the chief of staff and 531 million naira for the renovation of an Anglican church. Well, the governorship candidate also questioned why the state will be renovating a religious center with taxpayers' money. There is more, Dr. Abati. I believe you guys took this in the business segment. He also questioned the allocation of 12.4 billion naira for the consultancy fees for the Lagos Mega City project and construction of bus corridors in selected locations across the state. Talking about cutting expenditure to save money. Over in Malawi, the country's president, Lazarus Chakwera, has suspended all international travels for himself and his government.
Let's just deal with what's happening in Nigeria. I don't want to go into the amount reeled out. I just want to remind Nigeria that this is what happens when an army conquers a territory. It's normal. They plunder the territory. You see, these people treat Nigeria like conquered territory. They are buying rechargeable fan. This fan that ordinary GTC students can construct. That's what they're buying. And they are reeling out. You're talking about 200 million to pay lawyers. Please, if lawyers were given about 200 million, you know that the other one that they pay judges themselves are classified. I hope you know that. The ones that they pay judges, because of course the judges have been trending, theirs are classified. So if the lawyers could get as much as 200 million, you can be sure that the judges are really in about 2 billion each. That is it. Because Nigerians are treated like conquered territory. They are plundering us. They are raping Nigerians. They are treating us like we are a thing, not even a people. And do you blame a governor? This same governor wants to be a senator tomorrow when he finishes. I read in the news again, I think Punch, yes, Punch, that 300 million is a Christmas package for every senator, and 200 million naira is a Christmas package for every House of Rep member. Punch the calculator. We have 360 plus, I think, 108. That's about 468 members of the National Assembly. By the time you multiply 360 by 200, that's about 720. That's about 7.2 billion we're talking now. And then 108 by 300. Come on. With all this screaming, with all these people jumping into the lagoon for hunger, with all the things that are going on in Nigeria, these people, their life is well set for them. You know, let me explain to you what I mean. If you live in Dubai, United Arab Emirates, it's pretty too hot there, you understand? But if you are in a well-air-conditioned space, you won't even know that outside is hot. That place will be very, very, very cool for you. As the temperature increases, the thermostat will operate, loosen up, and the temperature in the room will drop further to maintain that stability. Or if you're driving a car that is manual transmitted, the gear is manual, and you're climbing a hill, you know, as a good driver, there's a way you balance your leg on your accelerator and the clutch such that the car does not slide back and it doesn't move forward. It remains, if you're in traffic, it remains there in balance by just being able to place your leg on your clutch and the accelerator. You balance the car and you suspend it there. That's what these people are doing. Whether we are dying or living, their life must be constant. So what they do is that if a brand new toy they want to acquire changes value because of the depreciation of Naira, they will pump in more Naira in their pockets. If the chairs they want to import from overseas, if their new wristwatches they want to buy, the money is changing value because Naira is depreciating, they pump in more Naira. They find reasons why they will appropriate more Naira to themselves. They can even, remember the former Minister of Agriculture under Buhari said he was going to import grass from Brazil. And he will import grass from Brazil for the cattle in Nigeria to chew. You understand that? Nigerians, and then Jam was telling us that snake ate money, and the other people told us that it's same old, same old. But look at Abia State that had been under political party PDP for 24 years. Abia was literally one of the worst states in Nigeria in terms of infrastructure. And with all the death and all the massacring and butchering of the people's hope, it took someone who did not see himself as a conqueror of the Abia State indigenes to come to power since 29th May. Take a look at Abia now. Just take a look at Abia. So, what can we say? Nigerians, we have to suffer it. They conquered us because I can't say we voted them. You see, I keep saying it. This is not the time for us to come and say, oh, Nigerians. No, Nigerians did not vote these people. These people bullied their way through. They bulldozed their way through. It's like they pointed gun on our head using the judiciary and the police and the law enforcement agents and broke through us, took what belongs to us, and now they are lording it over us. That's the way I can explain and summarize what is happening in Nigeria today. It's not only in Lagos.
For me, more worrisome is that some of the expenses that they made, were linked to the president. So you can imagine the sitting governor of Lagos State trying to portray, and I think there's another thing they mentioned that has to do with the president. So even the money they are getting as president, and he is getting as president sitting in Aso Rock, it's not even enough. As in, I was thinking that by now he's supposed to have disassociate himself from anything that has to do with Lagos State and the expenses going on there. You just see the kind of rascality.
No, you're making a mistake. Why I say you're making a mistake is because, do you say, for instance, you've gone into, look at Elon Musk. Elon Musk is into spacecraft. He's into boring. He owns the Nigeria, the boring company. He's but then he expanded and acquired Twitter and renamed it X. Are you going to say, oh, Elon Musk, now that you have acquired, that you own a boring company and space, when you buy Twitter, you should forget your spacecraft or forget? No, he's expanding his the frontier. Lagos State, you must know, since 1999, was someone's property. Hello? That person took 1999 to 2007 to convert the ownership of Lagos State to himself. And since 2007 till date, anybody who is there is his tenant, is his employee. The person must find a way to make remittances. Do you understand what I mean? So for the fact that he's expanding his business from a regional state level to national level, you want him to lose the other one? Come on, it doesn't happen in the world of business. That's his hard-earned investment. And a good one for that matter is a cash cow now. Cash cow. When you're putting literally nothing and the system is producing almost all that you need. That's what Lagos is. What we should be saying is, if this is the way Lagos is, what shall Nigeria be? You understand? So that's the thing. And that's it. That's it. Go ahead.
Let's just take some of this comment.
Secondly, before we conclude, I also want to relate this question you asked with another example in Nigeria. Look at Abacha. It wasn't enough for him. It wasn't enough for him. If the moment there is any balance in the Central Bank of Nigeria, Abacha will collect the whole thing. How many years ago has he been dead? 25 years. Up till this month, November, they are still returning what we call Abacha after 25 years. And that was then, 1998, that he died. And he was only there for 5 years. It's never enough. It's never enough. If it were to be enough, certain people should have even left power. What is it? Akpabio, you were secretary for the PDP in Akwa Ibom State. And you became a governor of a state, one of the richest states in Nigeria by allocation, Akwa Ibom State, for 8 years. And you went to become a member of the Senate for 4 years. And you became a minister for another 4 years. So let's say national limelight, 8 years of governor, 4 years of senatorship, and another 4 years of being minister. That is 16 years. But he's back as the Senate president. Okay. Has he not gotten enough to say, in terms of acquisition of wealth, I have enough. Let me now sit down and do things that will make people forget the way I have plundered them. Let me do something that is good. If those people reason rationally, this is what they should have been doing. Now, somebody like Akpabio should sit at the Senate president and direct the affair in such a way that when people say, this man is also part of them, people will say, no, since he become the Senate president, can't you see how things are moving on well? The president's wife told us that they are not poor. They are not coming to plunder us. In fact, they have enough. Shouldn't they sit down there and really just do something nice? But it's never enough for them. That is why it's continued like that. It's never enough for them.
So this post was trending on Twitter, and you can see what is stated there. In less than 6 months as president, he has acquired 4 oil blocks using Ohando PLC. So I don't know, when you talk of acquisition of wealth, these are politicians. I don't think they will ever get enough, honestly. And each time they still want to vie for another position, they will be so desperate as if they've not tasted this government money before. They will put in all their energy. You can imagine them using talks, equipping them with all sort of whatever to carry out their deadly acts. They just want to get into position of power, even though they've been there for long. Like somebody in Dume once said, he has been in the National Assembly for like, I don't know how many years, 20-something years, and this man keeps coming back. He has been there. Currently, he's in the Senate. He has been there for years, 20-something years. Possibly some of us on this show weren't born when he came, into the the NAS. But today, he's still there. He's currently in the Senate. Possibly, he's not going anywhere come next election. And we want to build a better country. I'm just like wondering how possible it's going to be with the kind of structures we have in place. The president was telling people in Germany that they are working on ensuring that the rule of law takes its course in Nigeria. And is it with this kind of politicians that we have today? Is it with this kind of people? So, Doc, you were talking about these people going home with their own Christmas package. Yeah, Nigerians are left to, groan, and suffer this hardship. While these are people, these are politicians in executive positions, they are the one enjoying the resources of Nigeria. So you can see this post, look at what is stated there, how much these people will be sharing. 104.7 billion naira, not million, billion, to be shared among them. You see, if you check down, you will see while each of the 109 senators will cash out 300 million, the 360 House of Rep members will smile home with 200 million each. Nigerians, this is what we are seeing. They will go and borrow this money, just bring it into the country in the name of they want to work on the infrastructure, they want to build roads and rails. But at the end of the day, we won't see the effect of the money they borrowed, reflecting on the economy. This is one of the reasons. You can imagine these people cashing out with this kind of amount of money at this critical time that Nigerians are asked to be patient, to bear, to tighten up their belts because of the fuel subsidy. Honestly, this country must be a joke. This country must be a joke, honestly. So, Doc, let's just quickly see some of the comments we have here while we call it a day. You can take over from here, please.
This, how can we read this? Èmi rò pé o, ọmọ ènìyàn tí Tinubu jẹ́ o. Did I get
Okay,
it?
this is even Yoruba. You tried, though.
None of them is greater than Pharaoh. One thing Nigeria should bear in mind is the Egyptians and Pharaoh they see in this year, 2023, they shall see it no more. Amen.
Honestly.
Amen. Nigeria has collapsed with dirty political, electoral, and judicial process. I will not be surprised to see more from conscienceless APC. Yeah, of course. They're just loading. Nigeria will maybe, is he trying to say will be a history? Yes, Nigeria will be a better history. We will overcome this. Mahmoud have messed up Nigeria. He's playing his own part. He's all part of the maze. Make on a wait. Next one is Abia and Rivers.
It's possible.
Wait. It's possible. You never can rule out anything.
Yes, it's possible. They just want to ensure that APC takes over the states so that they will win the 2027 election. But Nigerians are smart.
So without this revelation, how can you say we have a democracy? So if it is what democracy means, we better do away with it using any means, even if undemocratic. There's no need to keep on crying for those that has sold the soul to the devil. One thing is for sure, the evildoers will not last long in Nigeria leadership, both in the judiciary system.
Yeah, so that's all we have.
Thank you all.
From the comment sections. Thank you, Doc, for your contributions. Thank you, our viewers, for being with us. Let's call it a day at this point. We appreciate your presence. Please do want to like the video and don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Turn on the notification bell for future updates. And with this, we want to say a very big thank you for staying with us to the end of today's live show. Good night and God bless you. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.